Thank you for joining me. I'm Alex, and I'd like to talk to you about GoPro. GoPro is the other stock that I first bought when I first started investing in individual stocks. The other one was Fitbit that I went over yesterday, I believe. And both of those stocks were at or around $5 when I bought them. GoPro right now is at 398 ish. So first of all, stock market did fairly well yesterday. No, completely even. The S&P 500 is plus 0.25%. Thank you, Walmart. Walmart came out with pretty amazing numbers yesterday, and so they kind of lifted up the Dow Jones and the S&P 500, which would surely both be negative. Without that, Nasdaq is down 0.09%, so that's negligible, but basically a completely even day. Obviously, some of the stocks got hammered hard. Some of the stocks, like Walmart, did very well. So GoPro is a maker of action cameras and not much else, but they do it well. So everyone knows kind of what GoPro does is these little cameras that are in a case that some of them you can use underwater. You can strap them onto your helmet when you're skydiving. You can do all kinds of stuff, and they tend to not break ever. That's kind of an overstatement, obviously, but still. They do very well with the action cameras. They do very well with quality. They have a few different ones, a few different price ranges. So that's what they do, and they don't do much else. So price is $398. They went down over 2% today or yesterday, because you're watching this tomorrow. Obviously not great, but obviously also not terrible, considering this stock used to be 5 times this price. So basically down a little bit. I haven't heard much news that came out about GoPro today, so I don't know why they would go down, except for the stock market had a pretty rough day. But that's about it. PE of negative about 6. So their complete market value is slightly over 600, slightly below $700 million actually. Their loss is about $100 million, which is pretty terrible numbers. So dividend yield obviously 0 because they haven't made a profit in a long time. And by a long time, I mean 4 years. They made a profit 2015 fiscal year or something like that. And it was a tiny profit. So obviously, there's not much money for dividend there. Growth is negative, although it's only slightly negative. It's basically even over the past 3 years. Before that, though, they made a lot more money. So it's gone down a lot and then stayed even for the last 3 years-ish. Total assets, including goodwill, which they list at $150 million, is $700 million. I'm not sure why they would include that, but there are some things that are not included in current assets, so that's why I go with total assets. Again, do your own research if you need to have an accurate representation, but total liability is of $500 million, which obviously also not great. Still, more assets than liabilities is a reasonably good thing. And a loss of $100 million, which means in 2 years they would have more liabilities than assets unless they actually turn things around and actually make a profit at some point. Or rather, stop losing money. So, as you can obviously tell, for a dividend investor, that's not the stock for you. If you're a growth investor, that's also not the stock for you. And if you're a value investor, this is also not the stock for you. I would put GoPro and Fitbit into the same category, as in it's better to not invest in either of them than it is to invest in them. And there's very few stocks for which I would say this, because generally it's always better to have your money invested than to not have your money invested. But obviously there are some stocks which I don't see making you a profit. So Hiding your cash under a mattress is a way better bet than buying GoPro or Fitbit, and thus you should not buy GoPro or Fitbit. There are many other companies that you can invest in that are a way better investment. And so, I mean, Ford went down a lot today, I think is under $9 right now. So if you're looking for a cheap stock that is reasonably stable, go with that. Do not go with GoPro. That's it for me. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. I'm coming out with more videos every day before market open. I hope you have a successful day.